くぞはっジェノサイカッタ
What's up, everybody? Welcome back. This is Forgo. Today I'm going to give you guys my opinion on what the best stones would be for all the Guilty Gear characters. Now, it's just my opinion because this is something that I'm pretty much unable to test. I cannot level up a whole crap ton of gold imprint stones and level up a bunch of Guilty Gear stones and do a bunch of little comparisons because that's extremely expensive. You need lots of unpairing kits, you need lots of gold hammers, and there's just no way that I'd be able to do it, especially for 6 characters. But from all the time that I played this game in the last 2 years, I'm pretty sure that I can give you a pretty accurate opinion of, or a pretty accurate assessment of what these characters would be, actually be the most powerful with, depending on the game modes that you're actually playing them in. But the first thing that I want to touch on really quick, guys, is in the event codex here, I'm sorry, not the event codex, but in the event crafting here, this is a pretty interesting little thing, and I haven't talked about this at all, but you can actually, collect these things here, right? So we'll collect like all 40 of these babies, right? Okay. And the thing is, we just collected all 40 of those things. Now, you have a time limit that you can actually use those on. That's only going to be 2 more days because the banner's going to end in the next 2 days. But the thing is, I just did 40 of those things, right? Well, if I click on this one here, now I can use these 40 here. And the thing is, whenever you go to the next boxes here, you have a higher chance of getting the stones that you actually want from here. So we can go ahead and hit create. Okay. Now we click on the third one, right? And we can actually do 4 of these right here. Okay. A little bit of a freeze. Okay. And now we've ran out of these. Now these things here, you actually farm from the Rush Dungeon. You're actually going to get these from the Rush Dungeon. So my advice to a lot of players out there is, because we only, since we have 2 days left of this, make sure that you do farm enough of these materials from the Rush Dungeon. And really you should be farming in that Rush Dungeon anyways, so that you can get all of these nice little rewards in here from the exchange shop. So that way you can get all these cards. These set cards are going to be really good for the newer players, your gold hammers and experience balls and all these good little goodies. But you really should be in here anyways, so that way you can get these materials right here for the event crafting. And of course, you get the other materials from the bike and stage. But I just wanted to throw that out to you guys, because I haven't really been playing the Rush Dungeon as much as I should be, because I don't have enough materials to actually finish this thing here. And since we only have 2 days left, I just thought I'd give you all a friendly reminder that maybe you should be farming in the Rush Dungeon, so that way you can get more of these materials. Now, let's talk about the imprint stones for these characters. And again, guys, this is just, my opinion and my experience of playing the game of what imprint stones would actually be the best. So when it comes to the Guilty Gear imprint stones, the first stone will give you double attack, and it's going to give you blast skill damage increase. The second stone will give you double attack and a critical damage increase by 25% when it's maxed out. The third stone will give you double attack, and it also will increase active skill damage, right? So these are the things that you have to remember when it comes to the regular imprint stones. You can put all 3 of those stones on all 6 of these characters, and I guarantee they're going to be just fine. They're going to be plenty strong enough, right? But they're not always going to be optimal, right? iRunman actually did some videos with Saul Bad Guy here and actually proved that gold imprint stones is actually better on the sky. If you have gold attack stones, let me kind of click on one here for you guys, show you what I'm talking about. If you have one of these stones right here that increases attack, right? It's going to increase attack by 22%, but then it also increases your dot damage by 25% upon using an awakened skill. And these dots do attack, or these dots do stack on top of each other. This is something that I've tested in the past. So you can put 5 imprint stones on one of these characters, and if all 5 of these stones, all 5 of these babies have burn damage on them for Saul, his damage will skyrocket. So that really is the best option for him. And I know that to be a fact because, like I said, iRunman, shout out to iRunman, has actually proved this on his YouTube channel. So double attack, all burn is going to be the way to go for this character. I mean, when it comes to the star-shaped and star-shaped stones, like a stone like this one here is going to be pretty nice because it increases attack. It also increases burn damage. And these stones you can actually unpair. So if you equip the silver stones on a character, you can always unpair them. You do get unpairing kits from Guild Raid completely for free. It's all RNG, but you do get them for free. But if it's a gold stone, once you pair that thing up, once you equip it onto a character, it's there forever. It will never leave. So you got to be really careful about which stones you're actually leveling up. But all burn, all attack for Saul. He's actually really, really easy. And probably the same for May, to be perfectly honest. May honestly does benefit quite a bit from this first stone, where she does have double blast here, and she's even got blast on her finisher. So she actually benefits quite a bit from this first stone. I probably would go ahead and level up this stone here. But as far as the one with the critical damage here, this one here that increases critical damage by 25%, on May, I don't think it's really the best option for her. I actually think because she just has the extra chill damage in her core, if you take a look at her core, she's got all this extra chill damage by 30%, and she's got the chill on her first skill. I think you're actually better off just to put cold damage stones on her. So for example, when we click on this one here, we find a stone with cold damage on it. Like one of, if I have any, I don't even know if I got any cold damage stones. I don't think I even have any. Huh. I don't even have any cold damage stones. Let's see if I can find one here really quick. There we go. Like right here. Like this stone actually increases shock and chill damage, right? This is a stone that'd be really good for her. So, you know, double attack, guys. Like if you got attack stones, like these attack right here, attack, chill, and then apply to defensive fighters, I think those are going to be the best stones for her. And then in the moon and star shaped stone, it's going to be, again, the same thing. It's going to be attack, and then it's going to be increased to chill damage. Like this stone right here would be all right. It does increase her HP, but chill. But if it increases attack and chill, it'd be even better. There we go. Like this one right here, increase attack and chill. These stones would be the best. So I really think you're best off with attack and chill damage for May. I think the first stone you're pretty good to go with as far as increase the blast skill damage. I think you'd be really good with that one. But I believe the second, the third, the fourth, and the fifth, all those stones should be double attack and increase the chill damage. If you don't have attack, then of course just put an HP stone with chill and then have the extra attack, and you could go that route with her. I think that would be the best way to go because her chill damage would actually skyrocket. All right, so now we have Ramlethal, who's a pretty interesting character because she actually has double dot, and she actually has double dot explosion with darkness and starlight. And she does have darkness in her core. And this makes it really difficult to figure out which imprint stones are actually better for her, because when you look at her skills, especially her second skill here, this thing actually, you know, deals starlight damage equal 35% of attack every 1 second and increases damage received by 15%. So her core's got the extra darkness damage by 20%, but then she also has this deal starlight damage, you know, this increased damage received by 15% whenever she does starlight. That doesn't happen whenever she does darkness. So that's something to keep in mind. So really, in my opinion, because of the way she's set up and the way she's built, I would probably opt to go with, you know, multiple dots on the character, because again, the more darkness you have, the more darkness explosion she's going to have. The more starlight you have, the more starlight explosion you have. So, you know, you could build her a few different ways. I would keep the first stone for her, the first Guilty Gear stone, because I think it is optimal for her because it does increase the blast skill damage. And she has multiple blast skills in her kit, including her default, which applies darkness, right? It's just insane. But the second stone, and really all these rest of these, I think you'd be best off to go with either, you know, a double attack stone, a double attack gold stone with darkness or starlight. I mean, you could go all darkness, you could go all starlight, or you could go darkness, starlight, and do a little mixed blend of it. It's really up to you as far as how you want to build her. Just remember that, you know, if you want her to do more darkness explosion, just give her more darkness. If you want her to do more starlight explosion, give her more starlight. It's really up to you how you're going to play her. But also remember, in Guild Raid, whatever dot you apply, all you're wanting to do is apply the dot. So if I apply starlight to Omega Rugal and I do darkness explosion while the starlight's engaged, I'm going to do a lot of damage, right? I'm going to do a tremendous amount of damage because the starlight's already applied to Rugal. And if I have a bunch of darkness, then I could do that. And So you could do it that way if you really wanted to. But the thing about the girl is, because these skills are mixed blend, you deal darkness damage on one skill, but then the explosion happens on the other skill. You deal starlight on one skill, and then the explosion happens on the other skill. So you end up using both these skills quite often. You fluctuate too much between them. And whenever the meter's broke, you're going to be using both these skills anyways in guild raids specifically. So personally, guys, I would probably do like a mixed blend, have half darkness, half starlight. But I mean, it's really up to you as far as how you'd want to build the character. I do think this first stone is a really, really great stone for her. And by the way, and again, like I said earlier, guys, if you just use all Guilty Gear stones on these characters, they're still going to be OP, guys. If these are the only stones you have available, if you just started the game and these are the stones that you got, these are the stones that you should really stick with. And then as far as the moon and star shape stones, then maybe do a mixed blend like on Ramlethal, have one starlight, have one darkness, have both starlight. And then we get into Eno. Now, Eno is a much simpler character than Ramlethal when it comes to developing stones. Now, Eno, as far as her blast skills here, she does have, her first skill's blast and her third skill's blast. So I do think like the blast skill stone is actually really, really good for the character. So I'd probably actually keep this thing. But all the rest of these stones, the critical damage is actually really good on her because she does an insane amount of hits. And I mean, this, by the way, guys, it also depends on the car sets you're running on these characters. If you're running the Guilty Gear set, this stone is actually going to be really good on all these characters, except for maybe like May. It doesn't really make a huge difference for May. But for a lot of these characters, the Guilty Gear set's actually very, very strong. And because it increases critical rate, right, you're going to do more critical hits. And the more critical damage you have, the harder you're going to hit more often, right? And so this stone, so if you're using that set, if you're using the Guilty Gear set on your characters, then having this stone on pretty much all of them, except for maybe May, is actually going to be quite beneficial. Or Soul, right? Soul's already been established that all gold imprint stones with all burn is going to be the best way to go. But if you want to really increase her explosion, if you really want to make that crap as strong as possible, I would give her all poison. I would give her all dot. I would give her all imprint stones. Got a little bit of a freeze here. I would give her all imprint stones that have poison on them. Let me see if I can find one for you guys really quick here. No poison, I guess. I guess I don't have any poison. All these stones and I don't have a poison stone? Wow. So like when you see this little X right here, that's poison damage right there. So these stones would actually be the best on her in my opinion because her explosion is going to skyrocket. The girl has poison explosion in her core and she also has poison damage attack increase. So the more poison explosion or the more poison she has, the stronger this dot explosion is going to be. And she has shock damage on her third skill. But the thing is, especially like in Guild Raid, all you're trying to do is apply shock. That's it. You just want to apply shock. And while you're doing your poison explosion, while that shock's applied, you're going to melt that meter super, super fast, especially on a character like this that does an insane amount of hits. So I really think you're really best off to go with poison stones for this character. Again, if you're running the Guilty Gear set, this would probably be a better stone than maybe all the rest of these. You could go with poison. By the way, the third stone's really awesome because it increases active skill damage. It's actually a terrific stone. But because these characters have dot, honestly, having a lot of extra dot really does make a bigger difference on these characters, especially having the explosion. Then we get into Baiken. Now, Baiken also has double dot, right? She has shock and she has bleed. And I found from my testing whenever I played with her that the shock damage actually seemed to be a lot better for this character. I mean, she does have the bleed attack damage increase, right? But the thing is, but she also increased target damage received by 28% when landing on a shock targets, but increased active skill damage on bleeding targets. So, I mean, Baiken's pretty funky in how you have to play her. I mean, obviously, if you have a lot of bleed, that's going to be good. But from the testing that I've done so far with this character, with the card sets and everything, the shock damage actually would, I think, be better to level up. Now, you could do like what I mentioned earlier with Ramlethal and actually do a mixed blend where you have, half bleed and half shock, right? On the character if you really want to. I mean, she doesn't have dot explosion, so it really doesn't matter whether you go with shock or bleed. So you could put both imprint stones on the character and do very, very well. But I really would probably go with shock just because she deals shock damage equal to 38% of attack to the target every 1 second for 7 seconds. That is huge, right? But then, I mean, you got the bleed, but the shock is higher. It's actually at 38%. And if you put all shock stones on her and all those things are stacking, I mean, her shock damage is actually going to skyrocket. Now, she does, she has strike, blast, grab, strike, strike. So she really doesn't benefit that much from the first stone. I actually got this stone on her, which actually increases critical damage. But the first Guilty Gear stone, she really doesn't benefit from. I don't really think it's the greatest stone for her. In my opinion, especially with her leadership, I think this is a really good stone for her because it increases the critical damage. And I really think the active skill damage one is actually really good because, again, she just has, grab, strike, and blast skills. She has double dot. Sometimes you might want to apply the bleed. Usually you're going to want to apply the shock because it's a more relevant dot, especially if you're playing her in guild raid. And because the shock actually increases her attack more than what her bleed actually does, I just think, from the testing that I've done, I think he'd be best off just to have all shock stones. So the first stone, I would probably go with a gold imprint stones that actually have shock. This would be a really good stone for her, especially if you're using her leadership. If not, just use double attack gold imprint stone that has shock and really just all shock damage here, or the third Guilty Gear stone. I mean, it's really a matter of opinion, guys, as far as, what you really think is the best for these characters, especially without testing them. And then we get into Dizzy. Now, Dizzy's a pretty interesting one. Now, she does have multiple blast skills. I mean, look at this. It's all blast, my friends. So this stone here is actually godly for her. So I would absolutely recommend putting this Guilty Gear stone on her. And if you have the Guilty Gear set, just like I said with a lot of other characters, having the second stone with the critical damage actually is going to be very powerful for her because she's going to add even more critical damage. She's going to do a lot of critical hits. She's going to hit hard very, very often. The active skill stone is very good, but something to keep in mind about Dizzy is that she does have double dot, but she only has increased chill attack damage increased by 15%, and her dots are exactly the same, right? And whether she applies chill damage, chill damage equal 30% of attack, or she applies burn 30% of attack, they're the exact same, and she has the chill in her core. So whenever she does her chill explosion, they're both 4.5 times. Whenever she does her chill explosion, she's actually going to do more damage. You're still going to want to use this skill, obviously, because you get the increased attack. But once you increase the attack one time, like say you break the meter on Rugal and you're just applying chill over and over and over, and you're doing chill explosion over and over and over, and she's got the chill core effect, she's going to do more damage. In the testing that I've done, she actually will do more damage. Now, if you want to bump up her burn damage or burn explosion, then you want to give her burn stones. But the thing is, like I mentioned earlier, when it comes to guild raid, when you apply a certain dot, all you got to do is apply the damn thing. Just apply the dot. So like if you're playing her on hard mode against a Mega Rugal and you apply burn in your first rotation, right? And then you hit the third skill, it's going to remove the burn. Then you'd hit the burn again one more time. Then after that, you're going to be able to start using your cold damage. Like whenever the meter's broke, you're just going to be able to hit the first skill one time, the second skill twice, and then the third skill, or the second skill once, and then the third skill once, right? You're just going to be 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, and you're going to keep doing insane cold damage. So I actually think that, this stone definitely go with her. The Guilty Gear stone, if you're going to run the Guilty Gear set on her right here. And then I actually think and really the active skill one would be really good for her because she does have double dots. But if you go with chill damage on all of these things, her damage will skyrocket. Because again, remember, when it comes to guild raid, all you got to do is apply the dot that you need to break the meter. Just apply the dot. That's it. Once you apply the dot, then you can apply whatever dot afterwards, do whatever explosion afterwards, as long as it's not the dot that you need to be applying to the boss. So for example, if you need to apply burn, you apply burn in her first rotation, right? She's going to remove the burn from the third skill. You do the burn again on the first skill, right? And because she resets her cooldowns, you can just hit her active skills, right? And then once that meter gets broken, then you can just apply cold damage over and over and over and over. So the more chill that she has, so if you have all attack with chill damage along with that chill attack increase from her core, she's going to do insanity as far as damage. Now, you can build her any way you want. You could give her more burn if you want. You could do a mixed blend like what I mentioned with Ramlethal, and you could have, like this stone here, and then the other 4 stones you could have chill, burn. You could do that for her if you want. I mean, you could build these characters any way you want. Remember, in order for you to get more explosion out of your character, you just need more dot for that particular explosion. So if you want more chill explosion, more chill. If you want more burn explosion, more burn, and so on and so on and so on. But remember, explosion removes the actual dot that you're applying. So if you're playing the character in Guild Raid, that is something to keep in mind when it comes to building these characters. So that pretty much concludes, what I think would actually be the best imprint stones. I mean, guys, you could build these characters so many different ways. Characters like May and Soul are easy because they only have one dot. But these characters that have double, and really, is pretty easy too, in all honesty, because she only has one explosion. But, some of these other characters are really difficult, like Ramlethal and Dizzy especially, because they have double explosion with double dot. It makes them really difficult to figure out, what would be the best way to go. But I think depending on how you play the characters, really depends on what stones you'd actually would give them. And again, all the Guilty Gear stones for these characters, like all 3 of the stones are going to be good on all the characters. Are they going to be the best in all situations? No, they're not. But that's kind of the fun of the game, is building the characters however you want them to be. And remember, this is just my opinion on what I think would be the actual best imprint stones for these characters. So let me know what you guys think would be the best imprint stones for these characters. And I do stream on Twitch at 9 p.m. GMT plus 7 time. The link is in the description below. And I hope you enjoyed the video. Thank you for watching. Y'all take care and have a good one. See ya.